Hello, dear Marvinauts. We have a final version for you in this year. We worked really hard to get this out before the year is up because it includes the goals feature. And we know that so many of you really want to plan out their goals before the year is up. But of course, it's always a good time to plan out your goals. But let me show you what we were able to include in this first version. So the goals feature is really about having a way that you can set long-term goals or objectives, so just things that are important to you, so that it kind of wraps all of your projects and tasks in that context that has more meaning. Goals can just be really motivating because you know you're moving towards something, and it can kind of also help you be more focused in what you're trying to achieve and thinking about, okay, what do I really need to do to get there, and what is more just things that might need to get done, but in some ways are maybe a bit more distractions or just things that keep us busy. So when you enable this feature, you get this page here. You can say where you want to have it as always, and you can also use the shortcut G to get to the goals page. I already set up a couple of goals as an example. And when you go into this goal page, it will first start up with a goal setup on the right side. So this is a couple of steps that will help you set up your goal. It also allows you to have a little bit of an overview, what features there are with this new goal strategy. I already started setting this up. So one thing that you can do is set up a tracker. So this is a tracker where you can log some kind of number. There's also another tracker type where you can just log maybe a rating from 1 to 5 if you want to maybe keep track of something like your stress levels or just how you feel about your productivity or anything like that. But this is my Get Fit and Healthy goal. And here, as an example, I set up tracking muscle percentage. And so this is a tracker component, and you can just log and it will update this. There's also another way that you can view this as a graph. So for some things, maybe this makes more sense. This is really not styled yet, but we were just trying to get something out. So this is the tracker, and you can actually do multiple trackers. You can also create different phases to a goal. So maybe, let's say you want to get fit and healthy. One phase or one component is about exercise, and the other component is about food. Maybe you want to track that separately, but don't worry too much about it. You also don't need a tracker. And then the other things you can connect to this goal is tasks, projects, and habits. So it's all the things that you need to do to actually get there. And Marvin will, of course, then see which things are connected to a goal. And we're trying to do a couple of special things when you do a task that connects to a larger goal versus other tasks, because in some ways those are the ones that we want to encourage you to do, because they're kind of important. So then there's a settings button here on the top right where you can set up a lot of different things, like how the progress should be tracked, if it's just a completion percentage from your tasks and projects, which maybe makes more sense for one goal, or if you want to use a trackers, and if you have multiple trackers, you can say if it should be just one tracker or a combination of the trackers. This is just how overall progress on the goal should be measured. You can also set your expectations, so you can think about, well, ideally, how much do you want to work on this per week? How many tasks or how many minutes? And if you use habits, what kind of habit grade is acceptable for you? This is helpful on one hand later on when maybe Marvin will support you a bit more in achieving your goals, to just see how you are comparing against your own expectations, and also for this next step, which is actually a really important part of the goals, and that's the check-in. So you can have a check-in, can set it up starting from 1 week or every X weeks, and the check-in will ask you a couple of questions of how you're doing and feeling about the goal, and you can add extra prompts yourself that you want to answer about this. And this is just, a mental exercise, like a review, to help you reflect on how this goal is going. If maybe, you need to change something about it, or if it's maybe not important to you anymore, or if you have a challenge that you need to overcome. And I'll show you later how these check-ins will show up. And when you've set a couple of these things up and connected the actions, you can activate the goal. And when you do that, you'll get this commitment contract where you can say how important this goal is to you, how difficult this goal is, and add a bunch of reasons of why you want to do this. And let me actually show you maybe this on one where I've done some examples. So you can fill out individual things. And I really encourage you to use this kind of framing because we actually have a way that these will show up while you're working on your tasks and projects. So try to kind of write them like this. And you can also write down challenges that you anticipate and then what you will tell yourself when that challenge occurs, which is something we also want to build into more into the interface and other places. And then you can commit, and once you've committed, the goal becomes active. It's like this, and the active goals can be shown in your day view or in your main view like this. You can toggle them here on the right, like all these elements. And what's nice about them is that they have this little heart. And if you do something that day, let's say you check off a task or you complete a habit that connects to this goal, the heart will turn red. So that's sort of your clue that you did at least one thing towards that goal. And if you do more, the heart grows. So I think you can do up to 3, and then it's sort of reached its max height. And it's just sort of a reminder that you want to give this love because these are things that are important to you, and you can give it love by doing things. And you can see that the tasks that are connected to a goal have this little heart. This is sort of an indicator, but you can also set up custom markers. So for example, here, if you're not familiar, there are marker strategies like this, where you can pretty easily say anything that's part of this goal, I want to show a color, an icon in this color, and just set it up, and then it will show like this. So this maybe you prefer, but you can set this up yourself. And let's see what happens when I do this. There's also some sparkles behind the goal that come up, and you see that the heart gets red. Then there's also a tab we created for your goals. So here on the side, you can just get to your goals very easily. And the nice thing is that if you have the habits shown like this, it will also filter so that the only habits for that goal show. So this is the clear skin goal. And so you see the tasks here and the habits that are connected to that goal. So this is kind of nice. And here you see what happens when a check-in is due. So this is a goal check-in, and you say, okay, I'm going to do this check-in for this goal. And then you can actually see, okay, the last week I worked this many minutes on it, but my expectation was this much, and I completed this many tasks. So it kind of just shows you your expectation versus what you've actually done. And you can rate how this goal is going, your confidence about the goal, because this is really something that can go up and down, same as motivation. And then here's the prompt that you set. You can send this to someone as an email or download it, because we don't actually store this part, the prompt. So we decided not to store it. But with this information, we will do some stuff down the road, and we'll show you maybe a graph about this as well, which is not implemented yet, but I think it's just a helpful exercise in terms of reflecting on the goal, which is really the point of the check-in. And this is when a tracker is due. Maybe you want to, have a revenue goal, and just every 2 weeks, every month, you want to update that. So this is the prompt in the day view. So just to show you that. I think that's it about the goals. Well, there's also smart lists that you can set up. So it's a property now, and a smart list, a filter, so that you can see things only, from a certain goal. It's a grouping, so you can have things grouped by goal. And you can assign tasks as you create them in projects, connect them to a goal by using 2 of these symbols, because one is assigning it to a project and a category, and since the goal is almost one level up, so it's more overarching, we just decided to do 2, so you can connect it to a goal. I think that is most of the goal stuff that we have so far. Of course, here you can just see a table, shows you your last activities and your days left. And then there's an archive where you can see goals that you've completed. And all goals also have a note, which I think can be helpful to just kind of maybe collect information about this goal or map things out. And there's also a note just for all your goals, because here you could map out, maybe goals down the line, or just thinking about gaining some clarity about which goals you even want to add. You can also group them. So this could be used, let's say you want to have maybe 4 quarters for the next year and then slide the goals already into it. You could just assign labels to the goals. You do that in your edit thing under the details. And then you can group them by, a label group that you've created it from Q1, Q2, Q3, and so forth, and have it grouped by that. I think